Hey guys, if you saw the title of this video, you know we are going to be talking about Tales from the Borderlands Season 2 plus Poker Night 3 and kind of how all this connects to Borderlands 3 and some future things I think Gearbox is planning. Now, the last time I talked about this game was Telltale was closing down and they announced that all of their games were going on hold indefinitely. That was back in November of 2018. Now here we are a little over a year later and so much more has happened. Before I get into that, make sure to follow my second channel, Fonked, on YouTube and Twitter. Use my code Hayder for 5% off on scuffed controllers. Check out my affiliate link down below, and let's get right into it. Let's start with what has happened to Telltale since the last time we talked about them. In August of 2019, Telltale and some of their assets were acquired by LCG Entertainment. The co-head of LCG, Jamie Odley, said at the time of acquiring the company, quote, "We believe there is still so much life to the brand and its franchises, and we look forward to building upon the company's storytelling legacy." And the other co-head of the company, Brian Waddle, followed up saying, quote, "We've got some exciting things to share. We'll try not to keep them waiting too long, but we think the fans will be pleased." Now, at the time, everyone was unaware which IPs Telltale could still be working on and have access to, other than Wolf Among Us, Batman, and the Telltale originals. Those ones we for sure knew Telltale had the rights to, but everything else was kind of in a gray area of who it reverted back to, who picked it up again, and kind of where it was at. And all of that leads into this leak that was released a few days ago by Here It Is My Dude over on Reddit, who is known for having insider information at Telltale. Previous to this, he leaked the Wolf Among Us 2 and Batman Shadow Edition, so he does have an accurate track record when it comes to Telltale games. But as always, this is a leak, so take it with a grain of salt and maybe it won't come true, but this one I'd say is probably pretty accurate. His post says, quote, "Tales from the Borderlands 2 is going to happen in the future. Already planned to be Telltale's next big game, but it will still be a few years until it's revealed. Gearbox is working out a deal for Telltale to have Season 1 back as we speak. Ad Hoc is on board for Season 2. Now, this should not be too surprising for most players. Gearbox was heavily involved in the story of Tales from the Borderlands Season 1 and made some huge decisions for characters that ended up being canon in Borderlands 3 and the rest of the numbered franchise. Which is something else I want to touch on before we get into his other quotes and leaks. Gearbox was largely responsible for the overarching story in Tales from the Borderlands Season 1. When asked about the writing in an interview with PC Games N, Anthony Birch, who was the writer of Borderlands 2, had this to say, quote, "Myself and Matt Armstrong are constantly going down to Telltale and basically sitting in story meetings with them. We helped come up with the overall story arc. We're not writing the actual dialogue because Telltale's just better at that, but we are trying to help see where the story's going to go, where it fits in our overall Borderlands universe." Which should clear up any confusion on Tales and the main series Borderlands games' connectiveness, and why Tales is able to have such a big impact on the whole universe. The writers definitely worked together, and while Anthony Birch was not directly writing all the dialogue, he was overseeing everything that was happening, and Gearbox wouldn't sign off on anything until it was how they wanted it to be. This also ties together with an interview with comicbook.com where they interviewed the co-lead writer of Borderlands 3, Sam Winkler, and they asked him if he would be interested in picking up the story of Tales from the Borderlands where it left off in a completely new game, and this is what he had to say. Quote, "I would love to pick up where Tales from the Borderlands Season 1 left off. There are so many unsolved threads there. And even though we brought some characters into Borderlands 3, there's still a lot of question marks." He also said he couldn't comment on whether anything at this time may or may not be in production. And because this article was done before Borderlands 3 was released, he also said, quote, "I'm a diehard fan of Tales, and I inserted some winks and nods that are probably going to drive some fan wiki articles." So most likely just from this, I think it's safe to assume that we could see the same situation with Borderlands 2 and Tales Season 1 happening again. Anthony Birch was the writer at the time and went to help write Season 1 of Tales, so I assume the co-writers of Borderlands 3 will help write Season 2. More overarching story, maybe not the dialogue, but just making sure everything is how Gearbox wants it. Also from this quote, it does seem that, at least from what Sam Winkler is hinting at, that Season 2 will follow the same characters, It'll probably pull in Reese, Vaughn, and Zero while they look for Fiona or Sasha, or both. In terms of his last comment and what that means by hints, one of the hints that we found since the game has launched is on Reese's desk in-game. We can see a picture of Sasha. Now, her model wasn't updated to show the Borderlands 3 art style, and the image is pulled directly from Tales. But that doesn't mean that they have been looking into how to update her and how to get her refreshed for this new game. And the other big hint is an echo log that mentions Reese is having Zero search for a missing person. We aren't sure if it's Sasha or Fiona or maybe even both, but it is implied that she doesn't want to be found. From my perspective, I would say it's probably relating to Fiona, but we will get into that a little bit later in this video.
Zero, tell me you found something. Anything at all?
My spies are searching, but we have come up empty. There's no sign of her.
Damn it! Where the hell... I've been so busy with this stupid war. Maybe I could have... I don't know. Done something to help?
It is not your fault. No one vanishes from sight who wants to be found.
So the new Tales Season 2 could show exactly what happened after Reese and Fiona entered the Vault of the Traveler. I assume they would also bring back Loaderbot or multiple Loaderbots. Maybe Loaderbots even been updated to match the new loaders that we saw in the Handsome Jackpot DLC. There's so many options, so many ways this DLC could go. We could see new characters, but I hope they kind of keep it how it was in the first one, with maybe sprinkling in some characters. Maybe they could bring back Gage for this, or Axton, or who really knows, but I'm excited to see how free Gearbox really lets them be. And the last thing people want from this is more interactions between Reese and Vaughn, because there really wasn't too much interaction between them in the game, except for the end credits where we see an image of them together, but we want more dialogue, we want missions, we want them actually interacting like they were able to in Tales. That's basically everything I want to say about Tales from the Borderlands Season 2, but the other big leak that happened in this same Reddit post relates to Telltale and Borderlands 3, and it actually has to do with Poker Night 3. His quote now says, "Poker Night 3 is going to happen, but it isn't planned on being called Poker Night 3. Overall, early stages of development, but not super early. It isn't planned on being that big of a game. It's being made by Telltale and only Telltale. So while they have been waiting on Wolf 2, they've been working on Poker Night 3, which they hope to announce at E3 and release a few days later digitally." He also says he expects Tales from the Borderlands Season 1 to be announced to be returned to Telltale as well sometime around E3 and when all of this is happening. E3, if you don't know, starts on June 9 this year and goes until June 11. So we're still a few months away at the time of recording, but the reason this is important is because he goes on saying, quote, "Playing PN3 or Poker Night 3, you will receive crossover items for Borderlands 3 and Fortnite. And then the characters we will play in the game are Big B Wolf, Reese and Fiona, Bruce Wayne, and Lee Everett. Will all be the people we kind of play against at the poker table." So if Fiona is going to be here along with Reese, this is why I said it makes sense why we probably will be finding her and why she'll be the bigger person once again in the story. I think they're just going to keep using her to promote. The fans of Tales already know her. They're going to put her in this game. It makes sense that we're probably going to be trying to find her in this game. He does say that Poker Night 3 will run on the Unreal Engine, so we could see their updated models for Fiona as well before she shows up in Tales Season 2. Now, the mention of exclusive cosmetics for Borderlands 3 for playing Poker Night are not that surprising. It was the same thing that they did to help promote both games for Borderlands 2 and Poker Night 2. Zero got a Portal skin, Maya got a poker visor, Sal got Brock Samson's hair, Axton got Evil Ash Head, and Gage got the Mad Mask. Krieg wasn't out at the time, so he didn't get any customizations. But these skins and heads were a lot of fun and very exclusive. Not too many players ran around with them or went through the extra effort of actually getting them in game. So I do hope that Gearbox goes the extra mile again to make some amazing skins for the players that overlap between both games. And I hope they go further where maybe it's even more than one head. Maybe each character can get 2 heads in a skin or 2 skins in a head. Something that's more than just one per character. I think it'd really give people the extra push to go play this game and actually work to get it. And I just think it'd be fun. Now, the very last thing I want to say is speculation. If Gearbox is helping Telltale write the story of Season 2 of Tales, I assume they might also make a tie-in DLC that maybe launches a few months later for Borderlands 3 and really ties the two stories together, similar to what they did for Tales Season 1 and the Commander Lilith DLC for Borderlands 2. So that way Tales Season 2 is still canon and can have big things happen in the universe, but because usually it's that hard crossover between a first-person shooter game and more of a storytelling game, it's hard to get the first-person shooter players to go play this story game. So it makes sense if Gearbox wants to inform the players what's happening in the universe by making the DLC for Borderlands 3 that connects Tales Season 2. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that happen, especially with Season 2 being so far out. It gives Gearbox a lot of time to plan with Telltale and form one cohesive story across two different games. We also know that now, because of newer consoles, they don't have as many limitations as last gen, so they really can release a lot of DLC for this game. Potentially 2 or more full season passes, which could be 4 story DLCs per season pass, and I assume we will probably at least see 2, if not 3, so don't worry about this taking up a DLC slot. It should be really exciting if they are able to pull it off. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. Make sure to like and share this video, subscribe for weekly Borderlands videos, and I will see you guys in the next one.